Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm nervous, but excited.
It's okay to be nervous. It's okay. What is your sober date?
June 19th, 2023.
Oh wow, so you got about a year and a half now.
Yep. Almost a year and a half. Yep.
You said June 23rd?
June 19th,
June
2023.
19th. Okay.
Yeah.
What was going on June 18th of 2023?
Who? I was living out of my vehicle here in Idaho. I was homeless. Um, hadn't seen my son in a couple months. Hadn't really talked to my family other than just for money. I mean, I was in a pretty bad place. That was the end of my 15-year opiate addiction that went into fentanyl, but yeah.
So what was it that got you sober at the end?
I was just done. I was just done.
So you were living in your car June 18th,
Yeah.
and did somebody get you into a rehab, or did you decide
Um,
yourself to go into a rehab?
yeah, I decided myself, but I also have like friends from my past that work at the rehab here, so it was pretty easy. All I just said was, "Hey, I want to go to rehab," and she said, "Okay, come on this day." So, yeah.
And you were in rehab June 19th?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that not your first rehab?
No. That was my fourth time.
Four times the charm is what they say.
Yep. Yeah, it was on the second time. Well, I guess I didn't. Yeah, the second time I actually finished it, but my
Well,
fourth time going.
you said you're from Idaho?
Yep, I grew up in Rigby,
Okay.
Idaho. It's kind of by Idaho Falls, Idaho, but yeah,
All right. And is that like a small town?
Rigby is, yeah.
Now, what was it like growing up? You got brothers or sisters, parents
I
still
have
together?
all brothers. My parents are divorced. They've been divorced since I was a teenager. I have an older brother and a little brother that I grew up with.
Did you have middle child syndrome?
And the only girl syndrome too. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Middle child syndrome is a good word for it.
Yeah, that's what I always say my brother had. Or
Yeah,
he still has, and he's 36.
that's
And
what my brothers would say the same thing.
so you said your parents divorced when you were a teenager?
Yeah.
Did you have to pick one?
No. We stayed with my mom. My dad worked out of town a lot, and then he ended up moving to Utah and marrying somebody there. I mean, we would go visit him often, but we basically lived with my mom my whole life.
Okay. And
Yeah.
when did you discover drugs or alcohol?
When I was 14 years old is when I took my first pain pill. I didn't even smoke weed till I was 16.
What
And
about
then
drink?
drugs, I
No, drink.
mean, what?
Did you ever get into drinking?
Not really. I mean, when I was a teenager, I drank a little bit, but I've never really cared for alcohol all that much.
And you were 14 when you took your first. How old are you now?
I'm 30. I just turned 30 a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so this was, and you were 14. What year was that?
I don't know that.
2008?
Yeah, probably. My son just walked in, so he's gonna. Ryder, I'm having my interview, so will you go out and shut the door, please? You want to come
All
say
right.
hi? This is Ryder.
I got weapon. I got
Okay,
weapon.
go. I'm having an interview. Go, please. Shut my door, okay?
Okay.
Sorry.
Wait, mom, real quick.
Go.
I need to grab something. Where are my cookies at?
They're right there.
Cool.
Okay, shut the door. I love you.
Yeah. I'll shut the door.
It's okay. So you were 16, 14, and if you just turned 30, it was 19. So yeah, 2008.
Yep.
That's when I
2008.
started. That was when the year I started my pill addiction too.
Really?
Was 2008. Yeah, October
Wow.
2008 is when when I was introduced to Perk 10s.
Yeah. Mine were Hydros 10s, but I went up to Oxy 10s.
Yeah, I
But
went the
yeah,
Roxy 30 route.
they were giving them out like candy back in those days.
The
People. Holy
Oxys.
crap. Yeah. The pain pills in general, any of
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting the Roxy 30s where I
Oh,
lived.
wow.
I wasn't into like the Oxy 80s or Oxy 40s. I would take Oxy 20s sometimes because I could get them for cheap.
Yeah.
But I would take them just if I was withdrawing. It would be
Yep.
like hold me over until I got more Roxy's.
Right.
So your first pain pill was a Hydro when you were 14.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
I remember the first day I fell in love. Like it was the first time I ever felt comfortable in my own skin. It's as sad as that is to say. But
Yeah.
it changed everything. Yeah. It just changed my whole, it made me feel on top of the world. I remember the very first time I took it. Yeah.
Where were you?
I was at home in my bedroom. I had just gotten a tooth pulled. Yeah.
Oh, so they were prescribed to you.
Yeah, they were prescribed to me.
But I'm sure they didn't prescribe a lot to you though.
Well, they did. I went back. I mean, I went and got, so I have dentures now. I went and got a lot of my teeth pulled back in those days to get pain pills because I had cavities and stuff. But by the time I went to rehab this last time, I had 9 of my teeth left. I got my dentures in rehab this when I went in June. But yeah, I mean, I would go get my teeth pulled, and they would give me like 2 to 3 scripts for one tooth pull. Not
So
at a
you
time, but I would call them after my script was gone, and they would refill it.
and then they would keep on pulling your teeth.
Yeah. Well, they would do that or say they could fix them, which I would just get it pulled because I wanted the pain pills.
I was just going to ask if you were when did you go start getting them on the street?
So, actually not for a while because I also stole from my mom. So my mom was prescribed Oxy 10s, the little tiny pink ones.
Yep.
She has problems with her back, and she was prescribed so many that she didn't even take all of hers a month. So there for a while I was able to steal quite a few without her even noticing that they were missing. But I didn't start getting them on the street until I was probably about 18 or 19.
Okay, so from 14 to 19, you were mostly just like getting your habit by getting teeth pulled and
Stealing from my mom.
stealing from your mom
Yep.
and getting your teeth pulled. Were they pulling teeth that didn't even need to come out?
What is this?
No.
Okay, so you had messed up teeth to begin with.
Right?
Sorry, say that again.
You had messed up teeth to begin with.
Yeah, I've had bad teeth my whole life. Cavities, and yeah, I had messed up teeth to begin with.
All right, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
And did you finish high school?
Nope. I dropped out when I was 16.
Now, how come you dropped out?
Well, I transferred to a different district because me and my boyfriend at the time had broke up, and I just wanted to start over. And then I ended up getting kicked out of that school because I met a lot of friends there and started skipping school a lot. And then I just told my mom I'd get my GED after that. I didn't want to enroll back in Rigby, so then I never did get my GED. I have one test left. I have the math test. That's all I have left. And I'm like 2 questions away from passing that every time I take the pretest. It says that too. It's like you're so close. I hate that math test.
So you dropped out when you were 16, and this was 2 years into your habit.
Yeah, I dropped out and I started working. Actually, I worked at a Mexican restaurant as a hostess.
Okay, and you still
Yeah,
lived at home,
yeah, with my mom. Yeah.
and you would go to your dad's like during the summertime.
No, we would go visit every couple months for a weekend or a couple days here and there. And then he would come down for Christmas and stay at a hotel and stuff like that. He'd come visit us too.
Oh, okay. Did
Yeah.
either of them remarry?
Yeah, they both remarried very quick. My dad
Oh,
cheated on my mom with his wife that he's with now. Yeah.
and how was it? How was that with the stepdad?
Um, you know, me and him butt heads because of what I've done and what I've put him and my mom through. But I couldn't have handpicked a better man for my mom because I know that she is very well taken care of. He loves her very, very, very much. She's very spoiled. So I love and respect him, but I wish our relationship will get better with time, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was in your life since you were a teenager then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The worst years. Yeah.
Now, so you drop out when you're 16 and you start working and you're still getting teeth pulled and getting hydros and stealing oxy 10s.
Yep.
When does it escalate to looking for them on the street?
Um so I didn't ever really bought pain pills on the street. I mean, I did at first for maybe like a week, and then it went into heroin pretty quickly. So it started when I got put on probation in 2015. I think I was 20 years old. And I dragged that out for 5 years. And then the people that I met when I was on drug court and probation are the friends that introduced me to heroin. And that's kind of I went to heroin straight to fentanyl.
Yeah,
And that was
because
it. I was 20 years old when that happened, when I started going to the streets for it.
and that's when you started using heroin.
Yeah.
Were you snorting? Did you go right to shooting it?
I've never I mean, I've shot heroin. I only shot it though when I couldn't get fentanyl because I would buy it and I smoked like 2 grams and I still did not feel good. I was still sick. So I shot it up twice, but I only ever really smoked it.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if you were a snorter, but you were a smoker.
I was a snorter with the pain pills. Yeah. And then I went to smoking with the heroin.
You think that had anything to do with your teeth being fucked up when you were older?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
How did your teeth look?
I had these two front teeth were there. These ones were not. These two were missing, and then I had my canines, and then two behind here, and then the rest were gone. They looked terrible when I went to rehab. They were. It was sad. I never smiled. It was terrible. I was
Yeah.
in rough shape. Yeah.
Now you're buying heroin. You're 20 years old. Were you still working at the Mexican restaurant as a hostess?
No, I had my son when I was 21. And I was a stay-at-home mom for a couple years, and then I got put on drug court, and I left his dad, and I ended up getting my own place in Idaho Falls, and I've kind of bounced between jobs, honestly. I have a hard time with jobs. I have a hard time working. I feel like there's got to be more to life than just working every single day to barely be able to afford, which I guess is not a good thing as an adult, but I just I know I've had a lot of different jobs, I should say. I'm a forklift certified. I've been a server. I've been a sushi roller. I've done customer service for many years. Like, yeah,
So you were able to maintain working throughout your addiction?
no. I mean, no, nope. I would have a job. That's why I've had many jobs. I would have a job for maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months.
Okay. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to just get an idea of, the using days. Now when you got pregnant, were you able to stop?
Yes. Yeah. I was clean my yeah, I was clean my entire pregnancy. And then after I had him, I had fractured my toe bone in labor. And the doctor actually, because my mom worked at the doctor's office, that the doctor that I was going to. So she knew everything about my history. She drug tested the baby. She drug tested me often when I went in for my visits and stuff. But she didn't prescribe me pain pills. She sent me home with ibuprofen 800s, and that's kind of what started back on. I started seeking them out on the streets, trying to buy them from people after she sent me home with none.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you were prescribed only 800 milligram ibuprofen.
Yeah, and I had just had him, and he fractured my toe bone in labor. So, yeah. I mean, that was my excuse. I could have gone through it without anything, but
Now, why
that
did
was
they? What was your history like at that point by 21 that your mom didn't want you to get any kind of pain pills?
that's my mom had just known how bad I was with the pain pills. I mean, my history was I had gone to rehab once. I met my son's dad the day before I went into rehab, and then when I got out of rehab, we got together. And I got pregnant like a month within us dating, so I got pregnant really fast in the relationship. But she just, yeah, I had just stolen. She just knew what I was going through. I mean, there
Did
for a
she
while, I
know?
was.
Did she know you
She,
were stealing her pain pills?
oh yeah, at that point she had known that I was, yeah. So that's why I went to rehab. Is I remember she had just gotten her script filled, and I took about 20 of them and I left really fast. And she called me and she's like, "You're either going to rehab or I'm calling the police and telling them that you just stole my pills." And I was like, "Okay, I'll go to rehab." So, yeah,
How old were you when that happened?
I was 20.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And you were still living at home with your mom.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm playing catch up. You were doing heroin at that point.
Nope. That was still pain pills.
That was still pain pills.
I didn't do heroin until I was about 25. Hi, honey.
Oh, okay. So you're 20 years old and you're still just doing the pain pills, the oxys and the hydros. And you go to rehab. How long would you go to rehab for?
I was in rehab for, I didn't even finish that time. I was in rehab for, I think, 17 days, I want to say. So,
And so after that, you started seeing somebody pretty quickly and you got
yep.
pregnant.
Yep. And then I moved out of my mom's house with him. We bought a house, and then yeah, I lived there for about a year and a half, maybe. Yeah, he was about a year and a half, 2 years old when I got put on drug court, and our relationship was not very good anyways at that point. But they told me in order to let me stay home, they would he had to stop smoking weed and do couples counseling, and he told me that he wouldn't do that. So I had to go live at a homeless shelter for a while when I started drug court, because my probation was not letting me live it back at my mom's house at that point. So my probation kind of kicked me into gear of being an adult for a while there.
No, what were you in probation for?
Possession of marijuana charge, but I kept going on the run because I was addicted to other things. So I was ended up being on probation for 5 years. Well, I did probation for about 3. I'm seriously stop.
Mom, I'm trying to.
No, I'm trying to tell you, go out. I'm gonna seriously, dude. Please, you're being really mean.
Mom,
You're being
I'm just
rude.
asking. I'm just
You're being
asking
rude. What?
if I could bring my hoverboard to tomorrow.
Gosh, go. That is not an important question. Go. Sorry.
That's all right. So how much weed did you have on you to get a 5-year probation?
So I didn't get put on probation for 5 years in the beginning. I got put on probation for 90 days, I think is what it was. And they found stems in the car. They didn't even find any weed. They found stems. So yeah, but I ended up going on the run because I just didn't want to do probation at the time, I guess. For I was on the run for about 2 years, I think. I had my son when I had warrants out for my arrest when I had my son, my whole entire pregnancy, up until I can't remember exactly how old he was when I got picked up on that warrant. But yeah, I dragged that 90-day probation out to 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
have some decent amount of weed on you to get a 5-year
Nope.
probation.
Yeah, no.
And who did you get arrested with?
Myself.
Oh, you were in your own car?
No, I was actually in my son's dad's car at the time. He was my boyfriend at the time, but I was driving his car when I got that charge.
Why did they pull you over?
He said I was speeding going over the overpass, but I had my cruise. It was like 7:30 in the morning. I was going to work. I had my cruise control set. And when you go uphill, it kind of accelerates. And I don't know. He just said I was speeding, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you weren't pregnant yet,
No.
but
No.
you soon were.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just
Yep.
trying to put pieces all together. That's all.
Yeah.
Um,
I
And
got put on probation the day that I found out my son was a boy. So like I wasn't pregnant when I got the charge, but it took a couple months to go through court, you know what I mean? So it was a couple months after that that I actually got sentenced to probation, and then I met the probation officer, and then I went on the run because he had me on calling in to do UAs in the morning, and me and my son's dad only had one car and he worked, and I lived all the way out in Rigby, and I had to go do UAs in Idaho Falls. So he put a warrant out for my arrest because I didn't make it to my UAs, and I ended up being on the run my entire pregnancy. And after I had my son for a couple months after.
how'd they catch you finally?
I was driving down to get cigarettes from the gas station, and a cop pulled out right behind me, and I guess one of my brake lights were out when I was at a stop sign. So he pulled me over.
And once they got your name, that's
Yeah, that was it.
and you got arrested.
Yeah. My mom bonded me right out of jail that night, but yeah.
Were you sober?
I no, not off. I was still on pain pills at that time, yeah. I wasn't sober.
What were you on pain pills for?
I was just using them.
Oh,
I was
you.
stealing them from my mom at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. And you got put on probation after that,
Yeah.
but you never had to do any kind of jail time.
I did do jail time. Within I don't know if you know anything about drug court, but they have sanctions where, like, if you get in trouble for something, they sanction you to jail time. So I ended up sitting my entire, I had a 90-day sentence. So I ended up sitting my entire 90-day sentence in sanctions. So by the time I got terminated from drug court, I didn't finish drug court. I was clean my whole time on drug court, though. I never used. I just got in trouble for every other little possible thing you can get in trouble for. Um, like low productivity hours. I had forged some hours on told my boss or my probation officer I was working more hours than I was working. And then when he got my paycheck or like saw my pay stub, they didn't add up. And I just got in trouble for that kind of thing. And um by the time he terminated me, I had sat my whole entire sentence in sanctions. I sat 9 days in jail and they released me off probation and everything.
So by the time you're 25,
Yep.
how does it escalate to heroin?
So when I got off probation, I was living on my own. I had my own apartment. I was sharing custody with my son. I just I remember meeting a boy and he kind of hurt my feelings, and I just decided to seek out pain pills one day, and my friend said she couldn't find pain pills, but she had heroin. And so I went over there and tried it, and then I literally probably was using heroin for maybe a month when I got introduced to fentanyl. I didn't know it was fentanyl at the time. I thought it was an oxy that I was smoking, but all I knew was that it was a lot better than the heroin. But yeah, I didn't do heroin for very long.
Okay. And because you were introduced to fentanyl.
Yeah, I did fentanyl for, yeah.
That was
This had
5
to have
years
been
ago.
2020. So about about 5 years ago. Four.
Was fentanyl new to your area?
Yeah, very new.
Okay, I was gonna say
Yep.
because where I'm at, or not where I'm at now, but where I grew up, right outside of Philly, fentanyl was started coming in around 2016, 2017, 2018,
Okay.
like around there, and then like it worked its way west.
Yeah.
Just like xylazine is huge around Philly.
Yeah. I
Um,
had at one point, I went to Denver at one point in my addiction, and I had gotten some pills that I just used to myself. Like, I'm the only one that used them. And I ended up getting I had to have been xylazine. I don't know anything else, but I had a cat scratch on my arm and it ended up pussing up to huge. It was the most disgusting thing in the world. It was crazy. That's what it is, like the zombie drug, right? Xylazine. And it's
for
like it's
sure.
trying to come out of your skin or your body any way that it can. I
Yep.
mean, any little tiny scratch or cut that I had on my fingers would pus up. They were just, it was crazy. It was weird.
Yeah, it's horse
Yeah.
tranquilizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge around Philly, and you can't even get heroin in Philadelphia anymore.
Yep, you can't get heroin here anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy
It's
that
all fentanyl, yeah.
it's all fentanyl, and even
And
in
yeah,
Philadelphia, that's like Kensington, Philadelphia is like one of the biggest areas for xylazine, and it's like all their videos go viral
yep.
of the people that live around there because
It's sad.
yeah, they're all
I've
homeless.
never, yeah, I've never really been introduced to that bad of it, you know what I mean? Because I don't know if you know much about Idaho or Idaho Falls, but there's a big drug scene here, but like we don't have a huge like homeless population, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's getting worse here. Like the violence and stuff going on with the police. I think there's a lot more people coming to Idaho, but there's no, I don't know. I've watched a lot of videos on Kensington and Skid Row and stuff like that, though.
Yeah, I've had people on who lived in both Skid Row and in Kensington.
I used
Uh,
to want to go there when I was in my addiction because it would be easier to find drugs. I mean, that's how my brain was like,
yeah.
be easier to get drugs there, you know?
Oh
It
no,
was
it's
hard. It
hard.
was hard here sometimes.
Yeah,
If
and
they were out, like we had to travel either to Arizona, Colorado, like different states to be able to get anything decent priced. So if people like the dealers were out for days, then you were sick for days waiting for them to come back. It was rough.
yeah, and that's a horrible withdrawal.
Oh yeah.
Did you have Suboxone?
So I did get clean one time cold turkey, but this last time, yes, I'm still on Suboxone right now. I've been on Suboxone since I went to rehab. I've been weaning off of it. I don't want to be on it for very much longer, but it definitely made a huge difference from when I cold turkeyed off fentanyl. I spent 16 days in bed. And I puked all over myself in my bed because I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop and I couldn't move. It was the worst thing I had ever gone through in my entire life.
With cold turkey fentanyl?
Yeah.
Why did you try cold turkey?
So, I ended up okay. So when I tried fentanyl, I was living in my apartment, right? I had my cute little apartment. I ended up getting evicted from that apartment, and it was ridiculous because they were income based, and my rent was like $75 a month. And my mom had sent me it like 6 times to pay it, and I didn't. That's how like I just didn't pay it. So I ended up getting evicted in the middle of winter here in Idaho, and the winters can get pretty gnarly. Um, and my mom, bless her heart and soul, she put me up in a hotel as much as she possibly could. You know, she didn't want me out on the streets in the middle of winter, sleeping in my car. But she ended up finally coming here, and I asked her if I could move back to her house and get clean. And they took me back to Washington, and I did cold turkey it. I was clean there for 2 months is what I made it. And then I ended up meeting people there and falling right back into it.
Were you going to meetings?
Yep, that's where I met the people. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And they were great meetings. I if I wasn't seeking it out, they would have been good for me. You know what I mean?
yeah. You were seeking while you were there.
Yes, exactly. I wasn't for a while, like at first, but I did eventually. Yeah.
What made you want to seek?
Living with my stepdad was rough. He's very hard on me, and I understand completely what I've put him and my mom through and my family through, and I just feel like I should be better off at my age, you know, but he just the way he spoke to me was just ignorant, and I just wanted I don't know, it was miserable. I could not I felt like it was just miserable living there. I just feel like that would be a release, you know?
Yeah, and they obviously found out.
Yeah, a while. Yeah, I lived there for a while after they found out though. Um, I lived there for like a year and a half, and then I ended up going to rehab in Washington, and that was the first rehab I ever finished. I loved it there. I did a 30-day program there. And then from Washington, I ended up moving back to Idaho Falls into an Oxford house, which is like a sober living house.
Yep.
Yeah, and I moved back here because my son's dad had my son. Like I had my son the whole time I was in Washington. And his dad was still here, but I was not very good of a mother in the end of it. I guess I let me living with my mom, she took care of him for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they did, I guess, enabling me, but they made things very easy for me, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And
So,
you went back to Idaho Falls and you picked up where you left off.
I was, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I was probably clean for, well, I did a 30-day program, so I was clean for 30 days, but when I got back, I was probably clean for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks.
So it didn't take you long once you were back to fall into old habits.
Yeah. And then I got kicked out of the Oxford house and I was homeless from that point, and that was in October of 2022.
Too.
Yep, October 2022. And I was homeless from that point up until June
Mm.
2023, living out
Yeah.
of my car.
So now we're caught up to June, where we started from earlier.
Yeah.
Now, what makes this recovery different than other recovery?
This time I think I went to rehab because I wanted to this time. Like I wasn't like guilt tripped into it by my parents.
I'm so glad
Uh,
you said that because in my head, I wanted you to say that
yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's, you use the word want and not need.
Yeah.
And whenever someone says, I wanted to go, it's for themselves and not for
Yeah.
anybody else. Whenever you said I needed to go, it would be for your mom. It would be for
Yeah.
your son. It'd be to get
Yeah.
the
And
car.
I did that many times. If I could have gotten clean for the love that I had for them, I would have been clean a long time ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, but no, I just I I was so miserable at that point in my life. Like I would beg God that I would overdose. Like I wanted to die. And my mom even told me once that she didn't necessarily say she wanted me to die, but she's like, sometimes I just wish that you would be like, your fight would be done. You'd be done fighting and I would be done worrying about you, you know? It got to the point where I would rather be dead than alive. And I thought my son would be better off without me because I don't want to drag him through having a piece of shit addict as a mother. And then just one day I was like, no, fuck that. Then be better. You need to fucking be better. Fuck that. You cannot do that to him or your family. And that's where I was headed. I mean, I wanted it.
Yeah. Now, do you go to meetings?
Rarely. I don't really, the sober community here, I love it, but I don't know. I don't feel comfortable speaking out in front of a lot of the people that, I don't know. There's just a lot of people that talk about other people here in this town, if that makes sense.
No, I know
There's,
you're
yeah.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do my
So I don't,
meetings on Zoom.
and I honestly have thought about doing that. I should do that. I
Yeah.
should. But
I'm in,
I have met some really good friends that are sober um that I keep in touch with, and I work and I keep myself busy, but yeah. I watch a lot of things online about recovery too. I love
yeah.
reading too, so I read a lot of books.
Yeah. I like putting out content for people to watch. I've been doing this show for 3 years now, and some episodes go long, some go 30 minutes. So
Right.
everybody is different story,
Yeah.
and I find it important to put out episodes from all different kinds of people because I never know what's going to connect with somebody or what's not going to connect with somebody, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what I love about meetings is like everybody's story is different, and there's some meetings that I've gone to that you just walk out of there and you feel amazing. But there's the meetings that I've been to here in this town are just I've never really had that. But yeah, I love that. You never know what someone needs to hear, you know? I
Yeah.
remember living in Washington, deep in my addiction, I would lay in bed withdrawing and watch videos just like this on YouTube, you know, about people.
Yeah.
So
No, I know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
Because when I first started this show, I was obsessed with like the numbers and I would want to get a lot of views, and that I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And it would like drive me crazy if an episode didn't get a lot of views. And then one night, like 1 o'clock in the morning, like late as shit, I got a DM on Instagram from a girl, and she said, I'm from the UK and I just watched 8 of your episodes, and I just want you to let you know I'm going to detox tomorrow.
That's awesome.
And like that kept me going to today.
Yeah.
And
That's
not
awesome.
caring about the numbers as much, because maybe it'll connect with one person. That's why I do it.
Exactly.
Like I'm in Gamblers Anonymous, and I
Mhm.
do them on the weekends. And I'm pretty open about my struggles when it comes to addiction and gambling. Like I post about it on Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
And so I posted about the Gamblers Anonymous, and I got a DM last Friday or last Thursday, about 10 days ago. And it was a girl. She was saying, hey, I looked up Gamblers Anonymous on Facebook and I saw your post. And I saw your post, and I was wondering how I can get my husband meetings.
Aww.
So I sent her the meetings I go to, like the Zoom meetings I go to.
Yeah.
And the dude was on last week, and he was on this week, and he
That's
shared
awesome.
in a meeting this week.
Yeah, sometimes it just comes across to people that you never really that need it. You never know that need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's stuff like that that keeps me being so public about my stories, is because I'm helping other people, and whether I know it or not.
Right.
And I find a lot of it keeps me going and keeps me honest, and it keeps me from like gambling again.
That's important.
I've only been abstinent from gambling since July 13th.
Okay.
So, but that's a long time for somebody who was a daily sports bettor.
Yeah.
And right now, football's on, hockey's on, basketball's on, baseball just ended. October was the perfect storm for me to relapse with gambling, because all 4 sports were playing. And I stuck through, and I went to my meetings, and I didn't gamble.
Good.
And you know what I mean? And I was really proud of the fact that I got through the gamut of sports.
Yeah.
Without a relapse.
Bought me one of these?
No, I didn't buy you one of those. Sorry. I bought myself that.
Thank you. Why do you not buy me one?
You can have the bottle if you want. Sorry.
But yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to like have a platform to help people like yourself tell your story, because you're not the only one that was smoking fentanyl.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there. Yeah. I love talking to people and learning other people's stories too. It's amazing. It's amazing, honestly. Don't do that. No, stop. Are you kidding me? No.
No, Mom.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you have a kitchen knife or something? Okay, smack it.
Hey, give me the bottle.
And right here, and then bam.
No knives, no bottles. Okay, goodbye.
You're mean. I'm not leaving.
Sorry.
Blah, 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 blah,
Please
blah.
stop.
No.
Please.
No.
You want me to call your dad?
No.
Okay, then be nice.
No. I need to fix this poster.
Anyways.
Yeah, but I'm just glad that you had the time to sit down and tell your story and put it out there for other people to connect with. It's really it's a common story that needs to be told.
Yeah.
For other people to connect with when it comes to, stealing hydros, stealing oxys, manipulating doctors. I know I manipulated. Yeah, I was manipulating my psychiatrist last year to give me Ativan.
Yeah.
And then I manipulated him again to give me Valium, and then I abused my Valium. So, it's, really common.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let you go.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me, Jess.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you too.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.